Production of Ruckus is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, our weekly food for thought fight over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon. The Ruckettes join me shortly, and our topics this week: the GOP convention just days away. How unconventional will it be? The conventional battle over voter ID in Missouri, ditto for school finance in Kansas, plus roast and toast. But we start with our interview segment and welcome nationally known journalist and author, Time Magazine editor-at-large, David Vondrele. Before joining Time, our guest was a senior writer at the Washington Post. Vondrele covers politics and the U.S. Supreme Court. His academic background includes a BA from the University of Denver and a Master of Letters from Oxford. And maybe his best credential? He lives in Kansas City. David Vondrele, welcome to Ruckus. Pleasure to have you on the program.
Thanks for the invitation.
So how did living in Kansas City come to be?
Well, the short answer is that my wife is from Kansas City, and we were living in Washington, D.C. with 4 little kids and began to realize that it's a great place to be young marrieds, but a tougher place to raise kids. So we started looking around the country and we wound up here. I've been delighted. It's a great place to live.
How long have you been in Kansas City?
9 years
9
now.
years, okay. And your wife is a professional journalist as well.
She is a terrific, best reporter I've ever met.
Well, you had to say that, didn't you?
No,
Okay.
she can dig out anything.
Yeah. You're an editor-at-large for Time. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's a misleading title because I don't edit as much as I write. Mostly I write, and the at-large part means that I roam over a wide variety of subjects. I mostly write cover stories, sometimes long reported stories, sometimes breaking news.
Do you have to travel a great deal from your home in Kansas City?
A fair amount, not as much as I expected. The digital revolution has made us, we're all connected now.
Well, you've written about Donald Trump. I know one of the articles I looked at was titled "The Art of the Steal," which was a good title. Have you talked with him, interviewed him in person?
Yes, one of the articles, I forget whether it was the end of February or early March, but I traveled with him on his airplane for a day, and we spent a lot of time together that day.
How would you characterize Trump?
He's one of a kind.
Yeah.
I've been covering him actually since the late 80s, early 90s, when I was in New York correspondent for the Miami Herald, and he was the brash, rising young real estate mogul of New York and Atlantic City. He is, what you see is what you get. In person, he's more charming, more personal, but he's still that same Donald Trump. He's not shy about talking about himself, that's for sure.
Well, he's doing better than a lot of people thought he would. A New York Times poll just out this morning says nationally it's 40 for Clinton, 40% for Trump.
Yes, the best thing that's happened to both of them probably is that they're running against each other.
Yeah.
I think
the two most unpopular candidates in American presidential history.
Beating anyone else. Yes.
Let's talk about Hillary Clinton for a second. She got a break maybe from FBI Director Comey, but
yes,
not necessarily, because he sort of indicted her and then said she would not be indicted. Do you think this is going to hurt her a great deal, the email scandal?
Well, I think the polls that you referred to just now, Mike, suggesting that the race is head-to-head again, are proof that it's hurt her. That's the big event out there that probably brought her back down. She was starting to pull away from Trump in the national polls. And now it's tightened up. It was the FBI director was very critical of her handling. I think it revealed again a persistent tendency of hers to try to decorate reality, make it look a little better than it is, rather than facing up to
her
facts
husband wasn't
right
very
away.
helpful either, was he, by
They've
getting
been
aboard
doing
the plane, the private plane of the Attorney General?
We wrote a story, a cover story of mine in spring of 2015 when this email scandal broke out into the open. called the Clinton rules. And they have always tried to play by a little bit different set of rules. They're so talented, both of them, that it's worked for them. But there's no question the American public is starting to get a little tired.
David, we're getting really short on time. A couple of quick questions. You expect all sorts of turmoil at the Republican convention next week?
I think so. They're so predictable normally, and this week I have no idea what we're going to see.
And you have a big event August 2nd at the Truman Library, sponsored by the library and the Kansas City Library, and you're going to be talking to Mike Allen of Politico.
Right. We'll be doing that at the Plaza Library August 2nd that evening, and Mike Allen is so smart and so entertaining. Everyone should come.
And this is open to the public.
Open to the
at
public.
6:30 on August the 2nd.
We'd love to see you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks a lot for coming in. Perhaps you can come back another time.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. That is Time Magazine editor-at-large in Kansas City, and David Von Dreely. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus. Marianne Murray Simons is a freelance writer and consultant. Gwen Grant is president and CEO of the Urban League in Kansas City. Terry Riley is a former councilman and now heads Transformation Consultants. And Woody Cozad is president of the Cozad Company, a government relations firm. Good to see all of you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Let's follow up on my discussion with David Von Dreely and talk about the upcoming GOP convention next week. The Cleveland gathering comes at a time when racial tensions are heightened following the officer-involved shooting deaths of black men in Louisiana and Minnesota and the killing of 5 white police officers by a black man in Dallas. No doubt there will be numerous demonstrations when Republicans convene to select a presidential nominee, and the nominee presumptive, Donald Trump, is no slouch when it comes to stirring up passions. No one knows how the GOP convention will turn out, but we can all speculate. So let's start with Woody. What kind of a GOP convention do you expect, Mr. Cozad?
Well, I'm glad you left me room by saying we can all speculate, because that's exactly what we're doing. One thing we know Trump is a showman. He's had a television show, and it's run for a long time, and had really good ratings. What has he done with that program? Well, first of all, it creates attention because somebody gets fired every week. So there's this event you're anticipating. There's always tension. There's an expectation. Then he attempts to surprise you by firing somebody other than the person you thought would get fired. When the show begins to dip a little, he changes it to Celebrity Apprentice and introduces a lot of celebrity. Somewhere in there are keys to what he's going to do about how this convention is going to appear on television. I don't expect it to be the same boring old stuff we've been getting out of conventions ever since 1980 on. But I have no guess what he's going to do. If I were he, and it'd be typical of him, I wouldn't name my vice presidential nominee until the convention. Why is he compelled to do this week? I don't think there's no law written anywhere, and if there were, he wouldn't obey it anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't save that one for the convention. The one thing I think you can expect is a show.
Well, we have to read him on Twitter and take him at his word on Twitter, and he does say on Twitter that at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock Kansas City time on Friday morning, day after this program airs for the first time, he will announce his vice presidential selection. We got the Republican point of view from Woody. How do Democrats look at the GOP convention? What do you expect to happen, Terry?
All out chaos, and he's right. He will end up subsequently appointing a retread because everyone on his show is a retread past celebrity. But I've talked with some of my friends.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Woody.
Speaking of myself.
But I have friends on the city council there, and they're flat out afraid of what could possibly happen there. Woody and I talked about it. Police officers from the surrounding community, they were going to participate. Now they're not going to participate as it relates to sponsors. All of the sponsors that they had at first are just dropping out. And so as it relates to sponsorships, you don't have people, but I believe it's going to be a crazy, chaotic situation.
Do you think it will be violent? Do you think the GOP convention in Cleveland 2016 is going to be like the Democrats in Chicago 1968?
It might be worse because they've passed this law that you can carry guns at the convention.
At a portion of the downtown area near the convention center.
Yeah, and I think it lends itself to violence, and I think it's a mistake.
Gwen, some analysts say the critical part of this election will come for the public when Clinton and Trump debate for the first time. Do you think that's going to be true?
I think so. I think it'll be very interesting to see how they spar on the issues, and I think Clinton will do well. She debates well. I think it'll be difficult for Trump to contain himself. I think he's just will be typical Trump and you know, say the wrong things and you know, be vicious in his commentary. But I think it will be more informative for the electorate to see both of them together. Unfortunately, both of them have negative you know, polling with regard to trust and with regard to people feeling that Trump is someone who is even, you know, presidential. So this is really the scariest time ever that I've been involved in any, you know, for any presidential election that I've had the opportunity to vote in. I'm really concerned. You know, I think Hillary will win, even though Trump has risen in the polls. I think in a more recent poll, he may have a few percentage points on her in a few polls. But on the average polling, the New York Times has posted some polling where they've averaged several polls over several months, and she consistently.
Well, your favorite newspaper, the New York Times,
yes.
This morning has it at 40-40 nationwide.
Yeah, 40-40.
Marianne, I think it's fair to say that Trump has suffered from a knowledge deficit on some issues, at least during the debates before he was the nominee or presumed nominee. Do you think he can get up to speed on the kinds of questions that will rise during the debates by the time the debates arrive?
I don't think he wants to. My opinion is that he's all about the show, is what he said at the beginning of our conversation. He's about trying to build emotion and get people on his side on issues that he thinks they're important.
Well, apparently the public, or many in the public, think they're important as well.
Well, but he never actually says anything. He has so much innuendo in the comments that he makes, and then he just leaves. Well, I don't know, maybe somebody said that. It could be that. I don't know for sure.
He said he's going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it?
Absolutely.
He didn't say anything. What's everybody so mad at him about?
And we all know it's going to happen. The thing that I think is most interesting about the convention upcoming next week is that when you look at the 13 speakers who are going to be there, 5 of them are Trump family members.
Family members, yeah.
Why doesn't anybody else want to speak on his behalf? I guess we'll find that out next week.
The people who know him best will be speaking. Anyway, you can follow all of the convention activity next week and the following week here on KCPT. After the GOP and Democratic conventions end and the nominees are selected, the final choice will be up to voters in November. They will have other issues to contend with, of course. Among those in Missouri will be a constitutional amendment creating a photo ID requirement to vote. Once again, the legislature, dominated by Republicans, approved a measure calling for voters to present a photo ID before casting a ballot. Once again, as he has in years past, Governor Jay Nixon vetoed the bill. And as happens each year, legislators will return to Jefferson City in September for a veto session where Republicans expect they will override the Nixon veto. Nixon calls the legislation an affront to Missourians' fundamental right to vote. Is it really that big a burden? Let's start with Gwen.
Yes, it is. I think any impediment to a person's right to vote is an affront to democracy. And this bill is nothing more than a solution to a problem that does not exist. There is no material evidence of voter fraud that has risen to any level that would warrant an amendment to the state constitution. So, you know, I expect that they will come back, and because the legislature is pretty much veto-proof, they will override the governor's veto, and then we will hope that the electorate will show up in November, and those people who are champions of democracy will show up and vote to defeat this amendment.
Well, you know, there was some effort at accommodation by Republicans to put together some qualifications in the bill. Let's take a look at a graphic we have and explain some of those and get people's reaction to these. If the photo ID does become law and goes into effect in July of next year, you can vote without a photo ID. Then you have to sign a statement confirming your identity. Then you're required to get a photo ID. The state will pay the cost. Gwen, how much more accommodating can you be?
Well, you know, it is accommodating, but I agree with the governor in stating that it really is totally unnecessary. There's no justification for going through all of this, but, you know, it does, one thing happens with the bill, it does allow people to still vote and sign the affidavit. So when you really look at the bill itself, it's kind of weak if for Republican conservatives who would rather have much more stringent policies.
Well, let's see if this makes
So
everybody feel
it's a little
better
bit more
about it.
tolerable.
Let's look at another graphic. And I quote, "The electoral system cannot inspire public confidence if no safeguards exist to deter or detect fraud or to confirm the identity of voters. Photo IDs currently are needed to board a plane, enter federal buildings, and cash a check. Voting is equally important." That's the Commission on Federal Election Reform, and the co-chairs were Jim Baker, Republican, former Secretary of State, and Jimmy Carter, Democrat, former President of the United States. Shouldn't that be enough to satisfy people, Woody?
I'm not crazy about either of those guys, but in this case,
It is bipartisan.
I guess I agree with them. Look, the system, you have to be confident that fraud isn't happening. This bill, as you have pointed out, is about as accommodating as you can get. There is no obstacle to voting. You show up, you don't have a voter ID,
Yep.
you sign under penalty of perjury as to your identity. And so what's the problem? And now we can go to somebody, however, other than the election board to prosecute you if you lie under oath. We can go to the prosecuting attorney and get you after the fact. And that constitutes a significant discouragement to committing the perjury. So I don't see what the problem is. The claim by the opponents of this is that it's an obstacle to voting. If you can walk up, sign something, and vote, it does not
We got
constitute
to wrap
an
this
obstacle.
up. We got to wrap it up.
Propaganda
19
You need
states.
to note that they already signed it.
19 states have photo ID, 33 have voter ID. One with photo ID is Kansas, Marianne, where you and I live.
Yes.
It's been that way for 4 years, I think. Have you had any trouble going to vote?
I vote in a very small area where I typically am the only voter that is there at the time that I go. There are many more representatives
to do is show
from the
your
county
driver's
commission.
license,
I
right?
bring in my driver's license, I sign the paper, they look at my address, everything's good. However, I will agree with Gwen. I think it's a big waste of time and effort and money that the state just doesn't have to spend. I don't understand why it's happening now.
All right, got to move on here.
Can't even properly fund the schools in Kansas, and you're doing voter ID.
I
I'm
know.
sorry, go ahead.
That's Missouri, where their issue is on the ballot.
No, I'm talking
Yeah,
about Kansas.
Kansas
And you
had
had
it
it for 4 years.
I
And
understand.
that's why the schools are having trouble. At last
didn't say
count,
that.
well, what are you saying?
No, I said with all the plethora of issues we have in Kansas,
Yeah.
you want to use money to deal with voter ID. Now you're going to roll over here to the Missouri side where you're not adequately funding mental health. You're not adequately
Well,
funding
those are
Medicaid,
two states,
Medicare.
two
No, I'm
states,
just
two
giving
different
you,
groups of
these
people
are
operating.
facts, but you can ignore the
maybe
facts. Don't
50
ignore the facts.
All 50
Let's not
states.
ignore.
Well, you got 33 states that have photo ID,
Yeah, but I'm
19 that
just saying,
have
don't
other
ignore
forms
the
of
fact.
voter ID.
It's a propaganda machine. They're using it all
Okay.
over the country. When you dominate the legislature, come up with issues that are affecting the lives of the people of that particular state. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
If
I
you're
know we have
finished, we
another
can go
issue to
ahead now. Okay. At last count, the population of Kansas is roughly 2.9 million people. There are 293 school districts receiving about $4 billion annually for K-12 education. Just a couple of weeks ago, the state Supreme Court ruled that the legislature failed to fairly and equally distribute money to the state school districts and ordered another $38 million to be allocated. Now the state's high court will hear a case filed by 4 school districts, including the Kansas City, Kansas district, alleging that the state does not spend enough money overall on education. Some analysts think a decision favoring the plaintiffs could result in a $500 million order. Given the history of school finance cases and the court's makeup, only one justice was appointed by the current governor, Sam Brownback. Is there any serious doubt that the court will find the legislature at fault? We start with Mary Ann.
No, I don't think so. I think the question is really semantics about what adequate is. And there was a lot of discussion in the legislature about the courts not over-encroaching into their authority. But has the legislature done its duty in the state of Kansas and adequately funded education for our kids? I think the question is they have not. And I believe the courts will find in favor of the additional funds of $550 to $800 million that is hanging out there.
And where does that come from?
from the previous court ruling.
No, I mean, where is that money going to come from?
Exactly. Maybe
So we're
we
going to
should
see an
start.
increase in taxes?
It's a possibility. Maybe we should start to tax businesses in Kansas again, something that's been talked about over and over.
Well,
And
there's
that
some businesses that aren't taxed.
correct,
No.
the majority.
Gwen, how do you think we know how much it costs to educate students? Do we just listen to the administrators in the schools?
Well, I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, they do budgets. They are the people responsible for providing education, and they can, determine what that cost is. I think the bigger question is, when it is foggy when you say adequate funding. For urban districts, adequate funding may not be the same as adequate funding is in suburban districts, where you have urban districts having to deal with far more issues to overcome some of the social challenges that show up in the classroom. So urban schools need to have more resources available, that students need to have access to technology that the schools have to provide oftentimes. So that budget, the cost of that varies, and I think that it needs to be left up to the people who are responsible for providing that education to set that bar, that standard on what that is.
Woody, I read just the other day that in these kind of cases, school districts often argue that their test scores are low, and that means they don't get enough money. Is that a credible argument?
No.
No.
They tried this in Missouri. We have a provision in our Constitution requiring the General Assembly to spend at least 25% of GR, general revenue, on public education. And when you got to the Supreme Court, they said you're spending more than that, spending about 30. As long as you hit the 25, that's enough, and it's not our business. I commend to the state of Kansas an amendment to their Constitution, pick a percentage of GR, say you got to spend that much on education, and let the people vote on it, and then you don't have the court, which is, in this situation, literally irresponsible. They have no responsibility to anybody, accountability to anybody, setting your educational budget. Finally, they lost in Missouri because the superintendents who were bringing the case for these school districts all got asked this question on deposition: are you presently providing an inadequate education? They all answered that they were presently providing an adequate education. End of debate.
Terry, I live in the...
Nobody asks that question to these guys in Kansas. Why not?
I live in the Turner School District, which is a small district in Kansas City, Kansas. I think there are 4,000 students, 600 staff. And I decided to go look at the high school, just drive by it the other day, and it's adjacent to a swimming pool. And it was a beautiful building. I mean, it certainly would dwarf the school I went to in St. Joseph. Is there any real reason to believe that Kansas schools are in bad condition and need additional monies?
Well, in some of the areas, I would have to agree with an earlier comment. In some of the urban areas, but also in the rural areas, you have technology-related
But
problems.
you need to
as
consolidate
well.
schools, and they won't do it in Kansas.
Well, Kansas City, it took us a long time when we finally got there. I made mention of consolidating schools when I was on the board, and I got beat up so bad I never mentioned it again. But there are dual issues in some rural areas as it relates to technology, as it relates to classroom sizes, and the same in urban districts. You need different things as it relates to educating young people. You might need more special ed teachers. You might need more arts teachers. All those different things are factors in developing a kid and giving them the exposure necessary to be
I got to wrap it
successful.
up to move on here. We're running low on time. It is time now, however, for Roast and Toast, where the Ruckettes offer affirmation or consternation about people and events of the news. And we start with Gwen.
I'd like to toast 3rd District Councilman at Large Quentin Lucas for introducing an ordinance that would reform economic development incentives by limiting tax abatements and tax reductions that projects could receive. Quentin's ordinance proposes to reduce the amount of tax abatement and tax reductions on projects, and that by approximately 25%. This measure is a very positive step towards reform of tax abatements that have caused lots of concern in our communities with regard to the amount of revenue deferred on projects and deferred away from educational institutions such as the Kansas City Public Schools and the library. Unfortunately, this ordinance has not received a public hearing, and that's unfortunate.
Got to move quickly, Woody.
My roast is for the critics of Donald Trump, whose principal criticism is his lack of judgment. And that may be a well-founded criticism. but not from people who are allied with Hillary Clinton. If we haven't seen one exhibition of bad judgment after another from this woman ever since her husband was the governor of Arkansas, I don't know what else we've seen. The email one is just the latest in a career of bad judgment. Her husband meets with the Attorney General, both of them showing bad judgment immediately before a decision by the Justice Department on her case. Bad judgment is all around, up to and including Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and yet they criticize Trump's judgment.
Marianne.
I have a toast for Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and the other professional athletes who stood at the ESPY Awards last night and talked about the importance of them uniting to end gun violence. It's a huge issue in the United States, as we all know, and if we can get those who are admired by young people to come together and join legislative bodies and others to deal with this epidemic, all the better we will be.
And quickly, Terry.
I would like to toast our police chief, Daryl Forte. He had a very candid conversation the other night about race and talked about 31 years ago they were talking about race in the police, and we're still talking about it today. He believes that we need to come together and bring up real solutions to deal with gun violence and race and racism in our community, so I toast him for that.
Well, you would have loved my toast this week, but I don't have time for it. That is Ruckus. We're away for the next 2 weeks, making room for the conventions here on KCPT, back with a special 1-hour program on August the 4th. Now for the Ruckettes and the crew, Mike Shannon saying thanks for watching and good night.